From the Atonement Fargo studios on South University Drive in Fargo, North Dakota, this is That Podcast. Hey, to contact the crew, submit your questions or comments, go to atonement.live/podcastquestions. And now, here's those crazy people with That Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another riveting episode of That Podcast. My name is Ryan Janke, and I am joined, as always, by Pastor DJ Lura and Sarah DeYoung. And before we get going today, we have a guest. But before we get going, I want to let you know about a couple of things that we have going on at That Podcast. We have, did you know this? We've got a new Facebook page.
Ooh,
oh,
fancy.
Yeah.
We're on the Facebook?
The Facebook and the Twitter.
And
That's not dead yet.
No, Sarah. No.
Are we on the MySpace too?
Friends with Tom and everything.
So if you want to find us on the Facebook, you would go to Atonement Fargo, that podcast. And on Twitter, it is at Atonement Pod. So you can find us there. And who knows? Maybe there will be more.
Can you? What is the Twitter one? I don't tweet. I don't know that platform. So what is it called?
So it's the what is the correct word for the at symbol? The at.
That's like your handle.
Yeah.
That's like how people search you.
But what is that little
it's a
symbol?
Hashtag, isn't it?
It's an at sign.
No,
Oh, it's an at sign.
Yeah, the at sign. At Atonement Pod.
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 Or like that podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so clever.
Atonement Pod.
Excellent.
Yep, that's us on the Twitter. And who knows what other sort of social media shenanigans will...
Are we on?
TikTok,
Are we on the Instagram?
The Instagram... No, not yet.
And then TikTok is where you want to go, huh?
Yes.
That's going to get banned.
No.
TikTok's on the way out.
I think Microsoft wants to buy TikTok.
I heard that.
Mhm.
I heard that.
I'm
Yep.
gonna stay. I'm calling it now.
So we are there, and hey, if you want to ask a question or give us a topic idea or anything like that, you can let us know on there. We don't have to say your name on the program, but I suppose your name would be right there on the Facebook or the Twitter. But if you do have a topic or you have a question, anything like that, you can sure submit them in the comments on the Facebook page or tweet them to us. That would be
exciting.
Fantastic. And speaking of questions, we got a couple. We received 2 separate questions, and both of them will take a little longer than we have.
They're deep. They need time to percolate and to think through and then to respond.
Yes, and give them the proper time. We have guests scheduled for the next several weeks, and we don't want to shortchange our guests or those questions. So for those 2 of you listeners who sent those, we will be answering them. It just won't be this week.
Keep listening.
Keep listening, exactly. So with all that said, as I mentioned, we have a guest, and our guest this week is Amy Okeson. Amy is the Director of Serving Ministry here at Atonement and an integral part of Fargo MobilePack. Fargo MobilePack is an organization that works with Feed My Starving Children to pack meals for malnourished children around the world. And when I say integral, I don't say it lightly. Amy organizes, she gets volunteers, she promotes the event, she meets with sponsors, she prays over it, schedules meets with knuckleheads like me, all sorts of things. So she does a lot, and we are happy to have Amy Okeson here on That Podcast. Welcome, Amy.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. It's going to be good times. So first of all, for those who do not know, can you explain what Feed My Starving Children is and how Fargo MobilePack ties into that?
You bet. Well, Feed My Starving Children is a national organization based in Coon Rapids, Minnesota, so in the Twin Cities, and they have been around since the early 80s. And their founder, Richard Proudfoot, who passed away a couple years ago, saw the need around the world for food. He had traveled to a foreign country, saw the kids that were starving, the lack of supply chain in those third world countries, and he came back and he knew in the Midwest we have amazing technology, amazing scientists, and what can we do to find a way to help feed these kids, that we can do something here and transport it safely. So over the course of time, they developed the Manna Pack, which is what we pack for Feed My Starving Children. It's a rice-based meal. It's soy, rice, vitamins, and vegetables. And then it's packaged by volunteers at our mobile pack, and that's how the Fargo mobile pack comes into it. So Feed My Starving Children works with volunteers all across the U.S. in permanent sites, but also in these mobile sites where they bring the packing facility to us. And we recruit the local volunteers. We do the fundraising right here. And then we say we feed kids body and spirit. So we're working with local kids, local volunteers, feeding their spirit, learning how to help someone else while they pack the food that FMSC then distributes through partners in over 70 countries around the world.
Wow, 70 countries. It's for those listening who have never done a mobile pack or been to what do they call them? Stationary pack? What are they?
Yeah, so there's permanent packing sites.
Permanent
and then
packing
there's
sites.
Mobile sites. Yep. So, like for example, in the Twin Cities area, there's 3. They have in Mesa, Arizona, Richardson, Texas, near Dallas, and 2 in Chicago.
Okay, yeah. It is an amazing thing to see all the people get together. How many years have we been doing this in Fargo now? I always forget.
Yeah, well, this past winter was our 6th pack. So we've been doing it since 2015 as the Fargo Mobile Pack. For a while, we referred to ourselves as the FM Christian Mobile Pack, but that FM twice confused people, so we call ourselves the Fargo Mobile Pack. There'd been some other organizations in our area that had done packs before. For example, like Hope Lutheran or Concordia did one that had been kind of interspersed. But Ron Stensgaard, another member and business leader in our community, really saw the need for it. He went to the Philippines and saw the Manna Packs being served and used in a mission there that he works with. And he came back and had this desire to start a pack here. So in 2015, and I think it was March, we did a 1-day pack here at Atonement in our gym. You know, we learned a lot that first year about how to organize it and do it and make it work. There's probably about 800 to 1,000 volunteers that first year. And they packed, I think, about 200,000 that first year.
Wow. In one day.
In one day. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing how much you can pack in one 2-hour shift. We say it's the most fun you can have in 2 hours.
Yeah. So, and then this last year we did.
And so this past year we did a little over 2 million, like 2,021,000.
Wow.
And in year 5, when it was our 5th, that was kind of the big difference was between year 4 and year 5. We wanted to do something special for our 5th anniversary. And we thought, let's go to 1 million meals because the 2 years prior. So I guess to kind of start it out, we'd done 200,000 for a couple years, and then we did 500,000 for a couple years. And then for the 5th year, we decided, let's do something bigger. Let's expand up out of Atonement. Let's involve the whole community, and let's see if we can pack 1 million meals. Well, God had other plans, and that 1 million meals turned into 1.5 million, turned into 2 million, turned into 2.5 million by the time we packed.
Wow.
That weekend in the middle of a blizzard. That was that horrible Arctic blast, if you remember the winter of 2019.
That was
sort of
awful.
apocalypse.
That was sort of your
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. DJ had just came here.
I remember it so well because I drove up here through a snowstorm, through a blizzard. I was driving into Iowa, and I called a friend of mine who lives there, and I said, "Hey, I'm in the great state of Iowa." He says, "Get out."
No doubt. Go back.
Snowpocalypse has arrived, and it basically chased me out into Minnesota. But I'd gotten here, and I was here maybe 2 or 3 days, and then we were starting the pack, and it was amazing. At least from my eyes, seeing the church be community, not a church building, not different churches, but the church, capital C church, and the community coming together in such a way that's to me what the church really is, and to see it played out. I mean, people working together to help their neighbor, to love their neighbor, phenomenal.
Yeah.
I had a background with Feed My Starving Children going back to when I was a pastor in Minnesota about a decade ago. And I remember seeing something that really just kind of shook me to the core.
Yeah.
It was that these meals are being used as medicine in
Yes.
third world countries, just to speak to how insidious malnourishment is and what a blessing having something that is full of vitamins and minerals, what a difference that makes.
Mm-hmm.
And we took our kids, our confirmation kids, and they got to pack for a couple of hours. And on Wednesdays, we would serve them a meal like we do here at Atonement. And then, and that day, the meal that they got the daily serving of Feed My Starving Children, which is just a small little bowl of rice and these nutrients that are added in. And that's all the kids got. And to watch that light go off for them,
Right.
what made it that much more meaningful to then go and do this. But then to find out that this meal, which seems like not much at all, is the nutrition that can save lives in parts of the world that there is more malnourishment than here in the United States.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And the event is really neat because, DJ, you just talked about the kids that show up. They are pumped
oh yeah.
when
They
kids
are
come
so
in.
excited.
So, and we have actually been partnering with some schools around as well, right, Amy?
Right. We partner really with every school in the area. Every high school and middle school has participated in some respects in West Fargo, Fargo, and Moorhead. All of West Fargo High School comes, all like 1,200 of them.
Yeah.
Cheyenne Park Christian has been coming, bringing their entire 5th grade through 12th grade every year since that first year. Shanley and Trinity Elementary have coming, and this year coming into the future, all of John Paul II Catholic school system wants to come. They want to bring everybody.
Wow.
Every Moorhead Horizon Middle School brings a whole bunch of kids through their music departments. The Key Clubs, all kinds of other leadership organizations from every school. Every single school was represented, and to see the difference that it makes in them when they've come repeated years, when the kids are excited to come back and they tell the younger kids, hey, we get to do this, to see the excitement, in those 5th graders when they get to come for the first time. We're not kidding when we say it's a 2-part mission with Feed My Starving Children, that it's not just about this food that goes to make such a huge difference in these malnourished kids around the world where, 1,600 kids die a day from hunger. That's a foreign concept for us here in this country to understand or grasp. But it is not just about that. It is about feeding the spirit of every local volunteer, and we really take it a next step with the local kids to see the light bulb go on in their eyes, whether it's a church group, whether it's a school group, and we can reach a lot. Why we reach out to these public schools is because they need to know that they can make a difference, no matter how hard things are at home for them, that they can give 2 hours of their time and help someone else. And that might just be that catalyst that changes something in their life later. It really is a 2-part mission, feeding kids body and spirit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's wonderful. And so for there may be people listening. We've been doing this at Atonement since, like you said, 2015, but there might be people listening who have never heard of this before. So which countries, or, where does the food go to?
Sure. Well, the food goes, definitely Haiti is the number one place that it goes. A huge need there. Dominican Republic gets a lot. Nicaragua, those are different places where Eswatini, Africa, the Ukraine, the Philippines. So, and that's just a handful. I mean, you can go on Feed My Starving Children's website, FMSC.org, and you can click on their partners, and it'll show you all the different countries that they serve in and how many meals have gone there and what partners they work with there, like Convoy of Hope, Food for the Poor, Feed the Hungry, all of these. They work with, FMSC's plan is to work with an established partner in a country. They don't just take this food and give it out and walk away. They work with missionaries and non-governmental organizations to know that if we help provide them this food, it frees up resources for them to provide things like education, Christian representation or education that way, health care, job creation. The partner, Heart for Africa and Eswatini, Africa, where it's a small, tiny little country that's been decimated by AIDS, entire generation gone. What's left are the elderly and the children. They have an orphanage. They have a site where they they employ people to make beaded crafts that are then sold through Feed My Starving Children and other organizations. And because they get our food, then they're not worrying about how they're going to resource the food. They've also created a farm to raise their own food there. And all of this is teaching these children through the orphanage and the adults that are remaining and being able to give them a job so they can earn money, so they can have their own food. But in the meantime, the FMSC food helps fill a need.
Yeah.
So that's just one example of the way that it works. And you know, so because some people ask, oh, is this sustainable? Are we just going and giving it out? What are we doing? It's like, no, there's more to the way FMSC does this. They really vet every partner they work with in every country about what the need is. And that doesn't mean they don't serve when there's an urgent need, like Puerto Rico, when hurricanes hit. Yes, they provide food, especially through they partner very closely with Convoy of Hope, and are able to provide food for natural disasters and emergencies too.
Yeah, you brought it up, and people may be wondering, they do a phenomenal job of getting the food where it's going.
Yeah.
I can't remember
It's like 99%.
Yeah, it's 99.8% or something, or 99.1. That's only, and Mark Correa, the president of FMSC will tell you the same thing. That is only because of God and because of prayer. And prayer is like our number one pillar of our different roles within FMSC, whether you're a volunteer team or them corporately. There's no way. That doesn't make any sense because nobody's delivery rate is that high, especially when you're talking about traveling the ocean on a boat and getting into a foreign country and their customs, and you don't know what kind of weather or political system you might encounter. That over 99% is getting to its intended destination, meaning to these people and into their stomachs. That's only because of God.
Yeah. How much does it cost?
Sure. So each meal is 24 cents, and each manna pack. So if you've ever been there, it's a plastic bag where they scoop the rice and the soy and the vitamins and the veggies into this small little plastic bag. It's kind of slightly bigger than a quart-sized Ziploc, right? And each one of those bags is 6 meals because rice expands. So it's 24. So each one of those is about $1.50.
Okay.
So we work to raise all the money locally. So when we pack, 2 million meals, that's about $500,000. That is what it costs to fund those meals right here. And when you run a mobile pack, not only do you say we're going to come up with the volunteers to pack this and all the organization, we're going to raise the funds to fund it.
Mm-hmm. So it's a community effort. It's local.
Definitely.
The raising the money, volunteering.
That's right.
FMSC we've seen it. They show up with, how many semi-trucks did they have this year? Do you remember?
I think we had 13 this year, and the previous year I think we had 16. Wow. Yeah, they just come in mass and they bring their staff, 10, 12 staff, and then they run with us. And because we've been doing it for 6 years, they're like, you guys know what you can do. We just sit back.
They love coming here because they get a break.
Yeah.
Even though it's, January in North Dakota, and they joke about that. But
and, 1 year it was literally too cold to go outside.
Yes, that was crazy.
When I think of there's a million different things that we can do for the sake of the gospel and for the kingdom and to help our neighbor, because of so many needs that people have. And yet what I find so interesting about Feed My Starving Children and its location is how well the mission and vision of Feed My Starving Children fits with the identity of North Dakota. Yeah. We at North Dakota, a big point of pride is that we are the breadbasket of the world. And what a great event to have a city the size of Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo is about 200,000 people. Getting there.
Yep.
I like to say 250.
Yeah. And I just see this continuing to grow every year as more and more people become aware of it. I mean, how many volunteers came out last year alone?
You ready for this? Last year alone, it was a little over 12,000.
12,000.
And the year before in the polar vortex was about 14,000. It was crazy.
Wow.
Well, and with that polar vortex, I mean, wasn't there a full day that was canceled of packing?
We lost a whole, basically, 3 shifts. Yeah. We were a whole day behind. We had to set up when we should have been packing, and we just
Yep.
did it. Everybody, it was like a bunch. If you were standing up in the arena, we do this at Shields Arena now, and if you're standing up above, it was like watching a bunch of ants or bees around in their little hive, working, and everybody. It's just a well-oiled machine that Feed My Starving Children has created over these years of experience, and then it's the same when the 1,000+ people come in and all en masse down there and pack. So maybe that sort of transitions into what's going to happen. So people, the $1 million question right now is, in the pandemic, what's going to happen in January? And sadly, the beginning of August, we did learn that we will not be able to pack on site here this January 2021. There's just too much risk with the pandemic still going on, too much unknown. Feed My Starving Children made the hard decision here the beginning of this month to postpone all of their mobile packs through the end of their fiscal year, the end of February 2021. That includes ours. But we're excited for 2022. We're already going for the first weekend of February 2022, Super Bowl weekend. And we'll see what God has in store, over 2 million again. But we're not going to let that stop us. There is still need for food. The need is greater than ever. The World Health Organization says we're in the middle of a hunger pandemic, not only related to COVID, but related to some disasters and things that are happening around the world. The weather and politics hasn't stopped. Those natural things haven't stopped. And because
those unnatural things,
unnatural things, yes, those unnatural things have not sadly stopped, right? So right now, FMSC is packing again at their permanent sites, even though they were stopped for a while during the quarantine everywhere. But able to social distance at those permanent sites. You're able to kind of control the environment a little more than you can coming in to a mobile pack. And then they also have found a way to machine pack. That is not a long-term solution. It's not, because, again, like I said earlier, the mission is about feeding people body and spirit. We very much want to pack with volunteers. But we do not want to leave these partners without food. Again, that hunger pandemic is happening. They get daily calls for needs for food. So normally they would be packing about 31 million meals a month right now. They are getting to where in August and September they'll be packing about 15 million a month. So they're packing about half as much. In June, they packed 6 million. So there is need for funds still, because we raise those funds locally. When you weren't packing for 2 months, there's not money coming in at events that people donate and when they come to pack, right? So we are continuing to raise awareness. So we're going to have a virtual pack the end of January than we normally would have. Stay tuned for more about that. We're going to do something fun. We're also going to participate in Giving Hearts Day 2021, just like we always have. And this year we're going to help share the information about Give to the Max Day on November 19th, 2020, which Feed My Starving Children participates in Minnesota. And we're going to help share that news here. And we're excited about some other events, continuing to engage with our corporate partners and with our school partners, everyone in town. And over 40 churches normally participate in this.
Wow.
So doing some fun things between them about ways that we can keep the awareness there and keep raising the funds, because the need for the food has not stopped. Just because we can't physically pack here right now doesn't mean we can't provide the way for that to happen.
Right.
Yeah, good.
So there's plenty still going on
Definitely.
with
Plenty to do.
FMSC. Yeah.
Need to do.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go back to the event that happened during, what do we call it? Are we calling it Snowmageddon? What was it?
It was
Polar
Snowmageddon.
vortex.
Okay.
Polar
Vortex
Okay,
in
that's what-
2019.
That's right.
Yep.
So you said that you lost 3 shifts.
Yeah.
How many volunteers are there for packing meals in those 3 shifts?
Right. Well, we were planning on, I think, about 1,100 volunteers per shift.
And how
that
many
year.
and how many meals did they pack in each of those shifts?
Well, each one, 2.5 million. We were supposed to have 11 shifts that year.
So it'd be like
And
200 and
yeah.
or
I
2,500.
don't know. I
right?
can't remember.
Carry the
because-
one.
Hold on.
Right.
Let me
Sarah's
get
got
my
a-
calculator.
That's-
Sarah's got her calculator.
Like, we can't do math in our head anymore. We have phones.
Well-
right?
Do, 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 do.
Any jokes trying to tell while you type in this
Oh,
number? It's a lot of
no.
zeros.
No,
I'm like, I want to cut to the punchline, but we can't do
It'd
that.
be roughly
And
227,000
per
per
shift.
shift.
Yes.
Per
So-
shift. So 750,000, and you
Yep.
made that up and exceeded that
Yes.
by the end of the event.
Yes.
That's a God thing.
That's only God. Only God. We put out a mass appeal for whoever, if you want to come. And so we were just busting at the seams for some shifts. We had kids doing a conga line around the mezzanine at the Shields Arena because, we filled the floor. And we were by the third shift, we got done setting up quicker than we thought we were going to. So that in and of itself was a miracle. We set up, to back up a step here, one whole day, the day of setup was the day that everybody said absolutely no travel. All the planes were grounded and everything because it was literally 55 below zero.
Mm-hmm. Your face hurts when you go outside at that temperature.
And so it wasn't safe for them to even drive from Minneapolis. Okay, a fluke thing.
Your
that
lungs
night
hurt when you go outside in that temperature.
Yeah.
And you get
my.
if you've got a beard on, you get sickles in your beard.
Oh my!
Yeah, you get the beard sickles.
Literally, I think there was no school. They couldn't. Yeah, like 10 seconds outside, you would get frostbite. It was crazy. Yeah. And so we decided, okay, we're gonna just rah. So we later that about 4:00 in the afternoon, Dave Gunlickson, our development advisor with FMSC, calls me and he said, "I'm driving to the airport. They have one seat on a plane to Minneapolis, and Delta called me. Who calls someone for a flight?"
Yeah.
One seat. So he got on and he got here. He was the only one that was here. The whole team of 8 people was supposed to be here. And he's like, if I'm here, we can open the trucks and we can start setting up.
Mm-hmm.
So we rallied our troops, local troops, Ron and his guys, and thank heavens for Summit Site Works, because here's all these big burly construction guys out here unloading stuff and who are well used to this weather. Yeah. And we start setting up at 7, 8 in the morning with Dave.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the rest of the staff then gets here at about 12:30, and we're 90% done just with our staff. And so they finish and do all the paperwork, and she comes up to me. So at this point, we've missed 2 shifts. And she comes to me, she's like, I think we can do this other shift we'd canceled. Do you think we can call any of them back? So, and I'm like, well, let's see. So we had, there was a couple large businesses in there that weren't quite able to rally everybody, but we ended up filling that one about a quarter of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And they just were rock stars, packed 50,000 in that shift. And it was a good test for us about whether, it's the first time we'd done a pack of this size. And so it was good for just kind of to get the machine rolling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they started coming, 1,000 people plus a shift. And it just started, and we pushed fast and we kept them, 10 minutes over. And it was chaos. Don't get me wrong. It was people coming and going, and parking was a mess. But it's we're gonna get this goal. And Saturday, and then Dave had to leave to go to a speaking engagement. And he's like, and we were okay at that point. We understood it's what, this is God's number. We're gonna, whatever it is, we've missed all it. Whatever we hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But our goal was still 2 million. Saturday morning, we began to realize this is the pace we're on. We're gonna hit this. Ellen, our event planner, she's like, Amy, I think we're gonna hit this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, how much do we need to push to hit this? She's like, we're just going to keep pushing. And we look at each shift, and it's like, who's in this shift? Who's done this every 4 years up to this? Who can we push? And it's just crazy. And you just keep, and at 7:03, she comes to me, and she's like, we've hit 2.5 million, and we didn't stop packing. We ended up exceeding it by a couple 100,000 meals because, you don't just stop. They keep rolling. And when you're talking 40 stations, they've got, a bunch still on their table, right? And so you just don't, at that point, you just kind of are a mess.
But the funny thing is people don't want to stop.
Yeah.
If you would say, okay, hey, quit, stop. What?
I've done it. It's already been 2 hours. No.
Yeah.
I don't want to quit. Yeah. You just don't want to leave.
Yeah. God's always training us for our next season, right?
It was neat for me to get to know Amy a little bit over the last 2 years, because 2 years ago, in the midst of all that chaos, she was like a hummingbird around the Shields Arena. I mean, just everywhere. You wherever you walk, you're like, oh, there's Amy again. And
DJ got quite the baptism by fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then this last year, there was a better plan of a big rollout like that.
Yeah.
And she was just cool as a cucumber. Just,
yep.
Oh, we got this. Piece of cake. Just imbuing confidence in all the different pieces that were going forward. So Amy really, a big thank you to her and her leadership and everything that she's done, especially at this point to get it to this level.
Yeah.
And then to empower others to, do their part and really get their full potential out of this wonderful event.
Yeah.
Thanks. So, and I should, to tie into that, it is far from just me. There's 7 teams that make this up, and we have, 15 to 20 people on our leadership team that make this go. Seth Morkin, Ron Stensgaard, Chris Saylor, Michelle Groth, Chris Haugen. These are people that are out working, leading teams of their own to make this stuff happen without them. And we have some pretty amazing partners in Bell Bank and West Fargo Public School, and First Lutheran Church has been a key partner with us all of this time. So we do not do this alone. I do not do this alone. God just gives each one of us gifts, right? Mm-hmm. And this is where it's led me to, and here we are. We're just following his plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was actually going to ask that question. How many people? So you said between 15 and 20.
Yep.
That you have
on the leadership team. Yeah.
On the leadership team. So, how do people get involved, or what can they do to help other than obviously financial or coming to pack? There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
There is, because from communicating with the schools to raising funds to promoting radio, social media, we provide hospitality during the event, prayer, always, communicating with your own church. When you're talking about 40 churches and 20 schools and plus the colleges and 50 businesses, that takes a lot of people to communicate with all of that. Mm-hmm. So ways they can get connected. They can reach out to me directly here at Atonement at Okeson at atonement.fargo.org. That's my email. Or they can certainly call the church anytime, and they'll put you through to my voicemail. It's 237-9651, so 701-237-9651. And I would be happy to visit with them and learn what avenue of the team might be best for them or what they might be interested in helping with. And maybe that means you want to know, hey, how can I work with my Lions Club to help you? Or how can I work with my church in the small town where I live to help feed kids? And we have a whole list of ways that organizations, big and small, can partner together to join us. And you can learn more. You can give more. You can create your own fundraising team by going to fmsc.org/Fargo. So that's FMSC for Feed My Starving Children .org/Fargo. And right there, there's more details there. And we're in the process of adding some more information to that website. We also have a Facebook page, Feed My Starving Children Fargo. Right, Sarah? Do I have that right?
Yep.
Sarah, I should say, I have to give a huge thanks to Sarah. She's our communications director here and does pretty much all of the communications for Feed My Starving Children, too. So we are in a world of hurt without her. And we do have Instagram.
Yes.
So which handle is it for Instagram? I can't remember.
FMSC_Fargo.
So you can find us on all the social media, and you can reach out, direct message that way, or call Atonement Lutheran Church and ask for Amy. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the best ways to be able to get connected with the team.
With the team here in town, and if they want to, if they live somewhere else, they can just go to fmsc.org and...
Yes, there's ways to respond to express interest there, or look and see if there's a mobile pack in your area. You know, there's several in North Dakota and Minnesota, or if you're near a permanent site, there's all kinds of ways to get connected.
Cool. So you talked about some of the things that we can do since we're not packing next year. What other ways, are there any other ways that we can help during this time? I mean, going to the cities, load a bus and go to the cities, or
you sure
to pack down there.
So if you want to pack, if what you want to do is volunteer and give time to your pack, they are Coon Rapids, Eagan, and Shoreview, I think if I got that right, have permanent packing sites, and they're taking in groups of 5. So, if you have 20 people that want to go, just sign up through 4 groups of 5, right? Mm-hmm. And because you won't be socially, in your group of 5, you'll be a little closer than the 6 feet, but other than they're keeping each packing station the social distance apart. So that's why they're saying try to get a group of 5 that you're comfortable serving next to with, because anybody that's been in a packing knows that, you're standing right next to everyone as you're scooping and bagging and sealing and stuff, right?
There's not a whole lot of social
No.
distancing going on.
Yeah.
But they do have, we're wearing masks. We're still wearing hairnets like we always do. Masks, gloves, hand washing, temperature checks, all of the precautions that we've come to learn through this pandemic, they are taking to make sure that the food is safe and that everybody who's volunteering is safe.
Right.
So that's one way. You can go to a permanent site either. So for those of us that live near there's permanent sites in Minneapolis, in Mesa, Arizona, in Richardson, Texas, and in Chicago, Illinois. And you can find all of those at FMSC.org. And you can volunteer. You can sign right up online and drive yourself or however you want to get there and go pack. So that's one way. A second way is to give, of course. And you can do that. You can give directly on FMSC.org or through FMSC.org/Fargo. Okay, all of the money that we raise right now up through what would have been our January 2021 pack is going to go for current needs. And after that, we're going to establish fundraising for 2022.
I really liked how you talked about this the previous year, because I think it gets a little confusing for people as to, what are we paying for? Are we paying for the shipping? And I like how you talked about that. No, it's the grocery bill.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not just packing it and preparing it. The cost for
the ingredients,
the goodies themselves,
that's what we're paying for.
Has to be paid for somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like the rice, the soy, the vitamins, and the veggies, and the staff that come to help us. Like that's what that 24 cents a meal is paying for. Yeah. And to know, and that's crazy low too. Mm-hmm. And 98% of every donation you give goes to the cost of food.
Well, and I think that's important for people to think, wow, they were able to do 2.5, and it sounded like they had enough gumption to go further. What limits us being able to pack is the cost of the material.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's matching the grocery bill with the effort to pack and send, right?
Correct.
And so it's for anyone wondering, well, why is there a limit? That's why. When packing, when we hit our goal, we can't afford to pay for any more stuff. That's all we got.
Right.
Is that accurate?
No, that's completely accurate. We are only limited. The desire to volunteer in the Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo area exceeds what we have time for. Mm-hmm. So there is no lack of that. But we have to pay for those meals. It comes with a grocery bill. You don't go get groceries without paying for it. Same here, 24 cents a meal. 2 million times 24 cents is 500,000. So that's, we've been
Which is way better than Aldi. It's way better than
Costco
or Sam's Club.
That's crazy. And so that's why we just want to move forward, and whatever God had a plan for what happened these last 2 years for 2 million plus each time. We believe he has a plan for how much we're supposed to pack here. And based again on that population, if just 13% of the 236,000 that the 2015 census says we have gave $22, we would exceed our limit. We would exceed that $500,000. We would pay for, and that's not even a limit, I should say. We would pay our goal. We would cover the $500,000. So can you imagine if 26% we could double? We could do 5 million meals. And we have the ability to do it.
I'm trying to think of anything that I spend like $22 a month on. That would be like,
and it's not even a month. If that percent gave $22 one time.
Oh, exactly.
And what are you spending? Right.
What is that, like 4 cups of coffee at Starbucks?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Give up for or eating out. I know what it costs just when I go have lunch. If I eat out and don't bring my, if I brought a turkey sandwich from home twice a month, I would have the $22.
Yeah.
And so that's another way that people can help. That's something we're in the process of establishing right now, is a monthly hope provider right here in Fargo that you can give to, possibly partnering with Giving Hearts Day and the Impact Foundation to make that happen. And again, $22 a month then is $264 a year. So when you do the math, that's 1,110 meals is what that comes out to. Wow. And then you divide that by 365. That's 3 kids, 1 meal a day for an entire year.
Wow.
Where can you feed 3 kids for an entire year for $264. And so that's what, because we believe that the Fargo Moorhead.
That's
and
less
West
than
Fargo
my
area.
Costco bill per month.
I know. I spend more than that when I go one time to I have a 15-year-old football player.
Yes.
Okay, I'll trade grocery
Yeah,
bills.
that's cheap. I'll take that one.
And you know, we believe that this community has a heart for this, and when you break it down that way, that it's doable. We have amazing corporate partners that give huge amounts of money to, and again, huge shout out to JDP Electric, who have been a repeat sponsor, and again, and have stepped up and said, we're still going to give you money for 2021 because we believe in
That's
this
wonderful.
mission. And
God bless them.
so it's happening, folks, even though we cannot pack. So what do they need? They need prayers. And you can invite everyone you know, your church, your small group, your friends and family to pray for the need around the world and to pray for the ability to pack. And then you can give and you can sign up to pack. And if you can't travel to a packing site, you can sign up for 2022. And, but yeah, pray, give, and pack. So what last year one of our team said, pray, pack, and pay. The three P's. And those things still stand.
Yeah.
And we're still very happy to
Whole
able to
new
do that.
meaning to the PPP loan.
Yeah, exactly.
Pray, pack, and pay.
Yeah. Well, Amy, you do great work. The whole team does great work, but those of us who are here can see it when you walk around.
God has plans for us, so we don't always know what they are, but He finds us and equips us.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. We have a little bit of time, and I told you that I'd probably ask you this. I didn't know how much time we would have, but would you mind sharing your faith story with us?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Where do you want me to start? Like, how much time you have?
How much time we talking about here?
Do
Do
we
have to reschedule you back on?
We'll try to keep it succinct, kind of. But as Ryan mentioned, I am full-time staff here at Atonement as the director of serving ministry, and so I'm blessed that amounts to being kind of the executive director for the Fargo MobilePack. Is that they pay me to work with volunteers inside and outside serving through Atonement, and that includes Feed My Starving Children. It includes every volunteer we need for Sunday. It includes serving at the Great Plains Food Bank or with Youth, Red River Youth for Christ, and just working with First Impressions also in the building. So I get to do fun things like decorating. And that was a long time coming. So I was raised in the Lutheran church, but we probably didn't go to worship every Sunday. We were some of that family that they took you to Sunday school and they dumped you off and they came back and they picked you up, right? Mm-hmm. And so I went through Sunday school from 3 years old on, and I was confirmed in 10th grade and all of that. And I went to a youth gathering, I think before my junior year. And I remember then kind of hearing God calling, but that was so foreign to me because I thought, I'm supposed to go work in agriculture. I grew up on a farm. I was very involved in 4-H and FFA, and I thought that was what I was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was planning to go to college to. So I didn't really, I didn't heed that call at all because it was a foreign thing to me, but it was still there in the back of my mind. And then you go off to college and you stray away as an adult a little bit and did some wild and crazy things in college that I shouldn't have done. And then we got married to my amazing husband, Rod, and we moved to Kansas. And we lived in Kansas for 13 years, and there finished my degree in agricultural economics there, and continued to work in the ag industry for farm equipment dealer for 13 years. And loved that. Thought that was my calling, but always in the back of my mind was just like, I'm not really fulfilled. And we got connected back with the church, had our 2 children in Kansas, and in between my 2 children, I became involved with a home-based business, and God started moving people into my life that were strong Christians and had Bible study. So for the first time in my life, as a 30-year-old, was going to Bible study, and and it's not, I believe this with all of my heart, that's where he speaks through his word. And when you're listening, he's always there with you, walking with you and helping you in worship. But when you are in his word, that's where he speaks to you. And I started to finally listen. And so I left this job that I thought was supposed to be it for me forever in between my children, and worked this home-based business for a while. And then 2008, an economy and crazy things happened, and my husband was working kind of furloughed part of the time, and went back to work then. So I sold cell phones, believe it or not. It's 30-something, right in the merge of when all of the smartphones were coming and all of that kind of thing, right? And you think, oh my gosh, that would take you off on this course. But this company that I worked for was an independent, and again, Christian people. So then here again is God leading you down this path, that you think. So again, Bible studies through with them, and still with, and open to things. And then job change, we moved to Fargo, and I thought, okay, we're going to flip-flop. Now my husband's job is going to kind of be the main provider, and I'm going to make sure that I worry about my kids, and went and took something that was going to allow me to focus on my kids. And wonderful company I worked for, but hated every minute of it because I was just doing it just to take a paycheck, right?
Was that the cell phone company?
No.
Oh.
The cell phone company actually because that was working with people.
Okay.
There's a theme here.
I'm
working
thinking
with people.
around,
Anyway.
and that was that around 2008?
Yes.
So was that?
So that was like 8 to 11.
Were iPhones out then, or was it Razors? Do you remember the Razor flip phones?
It was in the transition from the
Okay.
Razors to and it was the company I worked for didn't have iPhones because
Okay.
if you remember when iPhones first came out, there was only certain providers.
Right.
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 And so but they had like a lot of Motorola's and Samsungs and all the Android ones. So
I'm just
we learned-
recollecting
Yeah.
like the late 2000s. That was the flip phone era, right?
Oh, totally
Yeah.
about the Razor. And
so cool.
and that was in the advent too of the smartphone or the computer cards. You remember that? When you had that
Yes.
card, you'd plug into your laptop and you could take it with you, before your phone became the hotspot.
Yes.
So yeah. So and now those of you that know me now know that I am not the techie person, right? So I came here, learned, worked for someone that was great company, but I was miserable, and then started working part-time here at the church and children's ministry on top of that other job to supplement income. And through that, again, God kept opening my eyes. And so here, we started worshiping here right away in 2011 when I came to be here, and with my kids, we're early elementary at that time. And then he just kind of kept he's like, hey, think about this. And then this role to work with volunteers opened up. And I'm like, hey, I think I'm interested in this. And I kept kind of like, hey, if you decide to go this route, I think I'm interested. And so applied and took the job. And then it's just been this growth thing ever since, jumped right in with FMSC at that time. And Sarah and I have gone to some conferences and at about first impressions and hospitality, and through that he just kind of kept. Then that remember how I talked about how I heard him kind of whispering something when I was in high school, 20 years ago. Plus, we're not going to say how long. Anyway, it started. He's like, hey, remember that part when I told you maybe you should think about being a pastor? So that has come back, and so. In the last 2 years, I've done a lot of thinking about that. And so now here this fall, I am also starting seminary with the Masters Institute, online seminary through Minneapolis I don't know what God's plan for that is in the end, because those who know me, and as you can tell from what we're talking about, I'm very much a type A, very much a detail person. To know, I'm like, all right, God, I'm following what you are calling me to do. I don't know what your end plan is here for this, but I'm following what you're calling me to. And so continuing to work full-time and do these things and do school as much full-time as I can with school. So we're just excited, and that's kind of finally him sometimes. So I just want to encourage people that when you feel like you spent 20 years wandering in the wilderness, that you can still come back to what he called you to when you stop and take that time with him to listen to what he is calling you to. And you're going to be afraid and you're going to rebel, and that's totally what I did. Even after I came to work here, I'm like, what? You want me to? No, I'm I have 2 kids in high school, and I'm 40 years old. No, you're nuts.
I think that's his
then
usual
he,
response to God. What?
what?
No.
What? And then he starts
Me?
and then he decides he's going to start sending other people to, hey, are you thinking about this? And I'm like, oh, okay, God.
He'll put you where he wants you.
Exactly.
One way or another.
So yeah, so we're excited about that, and we're, kind of fulfilling, I think, what he's a plan that took a long time to get there, but
Yeah.
yeah, and continuing to where I have this huge heart, for loving his people, for loving God and loving people. That's what we do at Atonement, and Feed My Starving Children fills into that, and completing seminary, and hopefully one day becoming a pastor is part of that calling too.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And thanks for coming on.
You're welcome. I loved it. It's fun.
Yeah. We try.
Thanks. You're a fun crew. I heard you have sound effects.
We do have some.
No,
some
hey,
sound
whoa. It's not we.
Oh.
DJ has sound effects.
Ooh.
Show me the money. There we go.
Oh, hey. That one sounds like Looney Tunes. DJ soundboard.
Oh, well, thank you again for coming on and for all that you do for FMSC and for Atonement and our volunteers and everything. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for letting me share about Feed My Starving Children and this mission.
Yeah. So that is all we have. DJ, would you like to pray us out?
Sure, I'll pray.
Okay.
Gracious God, thank you for this conversation today, and thank you for Amy and what she shared with us, the opportunity for all of us to get involved with Feed My Starving Children. She couldn't see it because we're all social distancing and wearing masks, but as she shared her story of her faith, I just had a big grin on my face as she was filling, you were using her words to fill my heart with faith. And so, Lord, bless us as we go this way. Bless everyone who has heard this message today, that they may know how much you love them and that you are with them wherever they are. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you all for joining us today. Make sure to come back again next week when we have another special guest who is going to be talking about mission trips and homelessness. So that is going to be exciting. And don't forget, you can find us every Sunday morning live on YouTube, atonementfargo.org, or atonement.live for a worship service. If you're looking for a place to worship, we have them at 9 and at 10:30, or anytime on YouTube by searching Atonement Fargo. And so for Sarah DeYoung, Pastor DJ Lura, and Amy Okeson, I'm Ryan Jenke. And please meet us back here next week for another episode of That Podcast.